Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Cloud9 demonstration via LeadMaster. We're very pleased that you could join us today. My name is David Mackey. I'm the Managing Director for LeadMaster in Asia Pacific, and I will be your host for today's event. Before we start, we just have a few housekeeping notes. Firstly, all the listeners are in listen-only mode. This means that you'll be able to hear what we're talking about and see our slides. And at the end of the presentation, we will be doing a Q&A session. In your webinar control panel, you should be able to see a box there where you can submit questions. So please do so throughout the webinar, and then we will look at those questions at the end, and we'll answer as many, if not all, of those questions within the time. I estimate the webinar will take roughly 30 minutes today, and of that 20-25 minutes will be presentation, and the balance will be Q&A. Okay, so the agenda for this afternoon is we'll do a quick introduction on who LeadMaster is and Cloud9, and then we'll go straight into the presentation. The presentation will consist of both slides and the actual Cloud9 Analytics user interface live on the web. So as we swap from slides to the web, please excuse me as I tab between applications. So what is Cloud9 about? It's about bringing the wisdom or the benefit of hindsight, the wisdom of history, into sales forecasting, and helps us create a link between forecasting and funnel management. Quite difficult to summarize pipeline analytics in one phrase, and I'm sure as we go through we'll get a better insight. But the result that we're looking for here is improved close rates, higher revenues, and really importantly for sales managers and business owners, more accurate sales forecasting. Who is LeadMaster? LeadMaster is the Cloud9 partner for Australia and New Zealand. As a business, we are positioned as a sales and marketing service provider. We distribute and sell our own CRM software called LeadMaster. We do pipeline analytics. We conduct inside sales services through our B2B contact center. We offer consultancy, data management services, and we deliver and manage EDM campaigns. Cloud9. It's about driving customer value to your business through improved win rates, sales forecasting, and pipeline management. These are some of the people around the globe who are using Cloud9 and are receiving those sorts of benefits. I think that first quote on the top left is a really good summation of where Cloud9 fits into your CRM and your sales management software platform. We're going to see that CRM is a really great tool for managing accounts and pipelines and opportunities. Where we use Cloud9 is to look at that data and to help us manage our people. Stanley Black & Decker, pretty well known brand name around the world. I've spoken to Scott Johnson personally, and they are they're a new user, but a very good user of Cloud9. And they have measured their results closely, and they're able to see a 17% year-over-year increase in win rates just by deploying Cloud9. Sales forecasting. These are statistics that have been derived from an independent research paper conducted by CSO Insights this year, and it's their sales management optimization study. And just as a footnote, for people who are interested in getting a copy of that study, please contact us at the details that will be on the final slide, and we'll be happy to talk to you, getting you a copy of that study. But, you know, across industry, forecasting, the odds of getting your forecasting right are actually worse than flipping a coin. So, you know, in terms of people who are looking after sales and who say that you know, their goal is to deliver a predictable forecast, 9 out of 10, you know, and probably should be a 10 out of 10. However, the average deal win rate out of that forecast is less than 50%. And so if you toss a coin, you're going to get 50. So that tells us there's something happening in our sales forecasting that needs improvement. And this is where Cloud9, coupled with your Salesforce automation tool like LeadMaster or Salesforce.com, can really help us get that win rate up. So the problem, what's the business problem? We have an artificial gap between forecasting and the pipeline management process. CRMs like Salesforce or LeadMaster are very good at capturing data and managing that data in a day-by-day basis. However, what we're missing is the ability to look backwards and to make comparisons over time so that we can look at movement, we can look at trends, look at gaps between what we thought we were doing last week versus what we are doing this week, and look at things like pipeline velocity. So what we need to do with our pipeline data is move it from our Salesforce automation tool or our CRM, where we're getting a very good snapshot of what the data is today, and we need to move that on a daily basis into a data warehouse, and then apply some logic and some smarts to that to do some analysis. And that's exactly where Cloud9 fits. It's a data warehouse for your pipeline data that lets us drill into and look at trends and differences over time. So this is how it kind of goes together. So in your middle, you've got your analytics platform, which is Cloud9. Down below, you've got your Salesforce automation tool, the CRM. At this stage, Cloud9 Analytics is integrated with both LeadMaster, clearly our product, and also Salesforce.com. And it produces an application, which is the screenshots, indicative screenshots on the left there. What we can also do is take external data outside of our normal funnel management in LeadMaster or Salesforce, and it might be some other source of data. It might be finance, bookings, goals, or whatever. Now, within the application, we start to get some data, but also some analytic tools, and we start to see trends and forecasts and gaps. And from that, what we can then do is start to analyze what our best practices are. So we can get right down to individuals and individual deals, and then roll all that up and start to summarize it, and we can see where we're hitting our forecast, we can see where we're missing our forecast. And from that, we can start to then develop best practice within our own business and start to develop benchmarks within our own business. So how does it work? So no technology piece is a silver bullet. There's not a lot of magic. It requires technology, people, and process. So the first thing we need to do is establish what we call a sales cadence calendar. And this is just a rhythm or a series of events over time, normally a month, within your sales team and managed by your sales managers. And it's just a rhythm or series of events of management activities and data capture and analysis. Some of this might seem obvious, but the first thing we need to do is we need to then establish a forecast for whatever reporting period we're looking at, month or quarter or year. Clearly then, as we go along from day to day, we want to compare our current position to that forecast. We then want to look at what our future outlook or forward-looking estimate looks like towards that forecast. What we want to do then is look at those deals that we're forecasting and analyze, are they at risk? So risk might be we've moved the close date lots of times, it's stalled, it's not moving forward, it's a large deal or whatever. And within Cloud9 Analytics, we will be able to create our own definition of risk and then identify the deals that are at risk. We then want to manage by exception. So we want to identify those opportunities or deals in our funnel that require management. Deals that maybe should be, that we're forecasting for next quarter, but possibly could be brought into this quarter, things like that. This is a key one. Based on data and intelligence that we can derive from our pipeline analytics, we then want to coach our staff and drive accountability with those staff, but based on data, not on gut feel or intuition. And we're going to extend that data and these insights and this intelligence out to our staff so they can see that information for themselves and they can coach and drive accountability within themselves. The result, improved sales performance in terms of revenue, forecast, and accuracy. So, what we want to do first is we want to be able to create a cadence. And then a cadence sounds like a fancy word, but it's simply a series of events over the month that we want to be able to, activities, sales management activities that we want to be taking into account. And so, you know, some of these things are in businesses today: weekly sales meetings, forecast meetings, so on and so forth. And I'm just going to flip to the application now. Hopefully this will be elegant. And so within the Cloud9 application, what we want to do is create a dashboard that reflects shortcuts that are applicable at each part of that month. So a weekly sales meeting. A different meeting might be about forecasting. There might be a one-on-one scrub with your manager. There might be a QBR. And so what we want to do is create these different views of your data. This is all the same data, just analyzed in a different way. And we want to put it on here so that this dashboard drives and supports our monthly cadence. And of course, if we just hover over any of these tabs, we get an idea of what this particular analysis, and we call them tabs, T-A-B-S. This is what would happen if we click through. This is some of the background to that. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we want to establish the forecast. And so we have a section within Cloud9 where alongside our actual data that we have, we're able to enter, not the salesperson can enter their own forecast, but more importantly, and separate to the salesperson, their manager and their manager's manager then might make decisions based upon what they think. So we've all seen the scenario where two different types of salespeople, some are very bullish and, you know, the first telephone conversation, they'll put something in that's going to close this month. You have the other type of salesperson who natural inclination is they'll only put it into the forecast when it's signed and paid. And so what we want to do is, as managers, is we want to manage in between that. And so we look at our people, we let them put their own forecast in, and then we may make judgments over on top of that if it's we're the people who need to take it up the line and report to our CEO. So the first thing is we're putting the forecast in. That's then going to let us establish variances between the actual today, our forecast moving forward, and what our plan or budget is. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to look at, compare our outlook or our current to our forecast. And I'm just going to click back to the application now. And so what we have here, and this will appear when it shows, this will appear to be a slightly busy screen. And we're going to look at the three different sections separately. And once you understand what each part of the screen is doing, it actually makes a lot of sense. So the first thing we're going to do is look at, I'm just going to blow this section up. We're going to look at what's happening in our funnel right now. And so what we do is we replicate in our analytics the different stages in our funnel. So here we have some commits that have been locked in. Here is an actual as our funnel looks today. Here we have what as a manager, we're saying our commit's going to be. Here we have what we're won, what's still in pipeline, so on and so forth. And some of the nice things that we're able to do is look at our commitment and our forecast, and we can look at gaps and look at what coverage we've got. So let's go back and have a look at this in a bit more detail. So what we'll do first is we've got a commitment. Let me start over the left-hand side. Over here, what we're doing is we're representing our sales team. So we can expand these sales teams down, and we'll have some salespeople here. And at each point here, it's rolling up to that manager. So what we're going to do is just, so the commitment from the sales team all rolls up, and at a worldwide level, for example, in this organization, they've committed 4.8 million for this period. And this period is this quarter. Okay, so today in the pipeline, looks like we're in a pretty good position, because looks like the pipeline is showing 10.4 million, which is a difference of 7.5. As managers within this hierarchy, we've actually looked at what our salespeople are saying is our commit, and we've said we're going to override that, and we think that our commit's actually going to be 10.5. Now the nice thing is, and that's a difference of 7.6. So this is a demo system. Hopefully this is not real data, but you get the idea. So today, we've actually, in this period, the quarter, we've actually won 8.69 million. In pipeline, we've actually got 6.3 million. Add the two together, and you've got a total of 15 million. Now, we've got some negative numbers here. Normally, they'd be around the other way, but you can see here now we've got a couple of columns that are highlighted in orange. These are important columns because what we're looking at here in a moment is going to be called our waterfall chart. So we want to see what's been moving and how it's been moving. And so, in fact, this data is this quarter, but show me the movement now in this quarter since the start of this quarter. And we have a whole lot of options on how we set this up. So, for example, I can show the pipeline for this month, this year, next month, next quarter, whatever, for a rolling quarter. I've chosen this quarter. I can show the pipeline as it looks today. I can show it the movement since the start of this quarter. I could compare it to this time last quarter, whatever. So at the moment, what we've done is we've looked at this quarter and showed me the movement since the beginning of the quarter. How's it changed? Let me go back one. Okay, so given what we have in the pipeline, what coverage do we have over our commitment? So this is saying we have a coverage of 1.6 times. So if your coverage is positive, it means you've got more pipeline than your commit. And so not every deal closes, and so you probably always want to have a positive coverage factor. And so over time you will determine what sort of coverage factor you need in your business on average to make sure that you can actually deliver the number at the end of the day. Okay, over the far right-hand side here, we actually have a risk column. And within analytics, what we can do is we can create an algorithm that determines what risk is to us. So risks are things like, well, the close date keeps pushing out, or we haven't moved forward in our sales stage for a period of time, or whatever. And we'll look at risk in more detail later. But what we want to start doing is also looking at our funnel, seeing how it's moving, but then start identifying deals that are actually at risk. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to look in our pipeline at what we call a waterfall chart. And so what we want to look at is what's the difference, how's this open pipeline stage moved since the beginning of the quarter. And so we do that over here in this chart, and I'll just expand this chart now. So what this chart seeks to do is show you the movement in your pipeline stage. So remember that we're just looking at the pipeline stage here. And so what we say is, okay, at the start of the period, which in this case is the quarter, we had $11.5 million worth of deals. 113 deals in the count, so the average deal size was 101. Now, as at today, we have lost 21 deals, or 18% of that, worth $2 million. We've actually won 43% of that, or 51 deals. Average deal size 95 or 96K. here we go. This is interesting. So since the beginning of the quarter, we've actually moved out to a different period. So forecast date has moved to the right. 11% of our deals, and 15 deals with $1.3 million. Okay, that's a lot. And so as a sales manager, I'd start to ask, well, why are we moving those deals out? And we'll get to that in a moment. No deals have been removed, and a few deals have been adjusted. Now, over here, we have a different part of the graph. And so since the beginning of the period, we've actually added $2.9 million worth of deals to the pipeline stage. So we started with 11.5. We've actually added another 2.9. So new things have come in since day one. We haven't won any of those new ones. And so our ending pipeline, once we net it all out, is $6 million. So what we use this for is to identify what's moving in our pipeline so we can start to then drill down and look at what we might want to investigate. So one thing I'll be looking at is, well, why are we moving out 11% of our pipeline? And, you know, we might want to investigate some of these losses. That 20% loss, it seems like it might be a bit high. So at the top level, we're getting some analysis. In this bottom tab down here, we start to drill down into detail. So this is straight out of your CRM. This is the same information you have in there. And we get some really interesting information. The amount, the manager override. So, for example, the salesperson here is saying this is a 120K deal. The manager thinks it's actually not. It's going to be 90K for whatever reason. Okay. And so as we move to the right, we start to get information on what actually happened within this time period that we're looking at. So remember, the time period we've chosen is this quarter. And so for this particular deal, our amount has increased by $4,700. The status has changed from negotiate 75% to procurement 90%. That sounds good. Probability increased up to 90%. Sounds right. And the close date has changed once. And it's changed in this American Day format, it's changed to be later in the month. So if you're looking in LeadMaster or Salesforce.com, you can actually get access to all of that information as you hunt around. But the nice thing about analytics is it's all summarized here for you in one little tab. So there's the close date, 27th of the 11th. Here's the stage. Sorry, went back a bit too far. Okay, here we go. Stage age. So here's a nice thing, interesting. So this starts talking about the velocity through the funnel. So even though this deal was at 90%, and we're forecasting for this month, excuse me, it's actually been at that stage for 49 days. So based on some algorithm or some rules that we have devised that suits our own business, we're calling that a stalled deal. And what equals a stalled deal is entirely up to us. So we tell the system after 40 days it's stalled, or after 10 days it's stalled, or whatever. And that's configurable. So that's interesting. So we've got some deals that are stalled. We want to have a look at that. It's actually been in our funnel for 120 days. So is that good or bad? Well, it kind of depends on what your average sales cycle is. So not sure what the sales cycle is in this scenario, but if your sales cycle was 2 months, that'd be 60 days. So here we have an opportunity that's double the average sales cycle. And here we go. You know what? Number of pushes. The number of pushes is how many times has the forecast date been changed or pushed out. And so we're starting to see a pattern here. So back up here, we saw that, you know, and this is what we'd probably see in our CRM. Here we go. You know, it looks all right. We've changed the date. Looks like it's still going to close this month. It's at 90%. We've increased the amount. That all kind of looks positive at first blush. But as we start to drill down now and look what's happened over time, I think we're getting a different picture. It looks like it's double our normal sales cycle. the close date's been pushed out 4 times. Yeah, it was updated since yesterday, but based on whatever criteria we're setting in our business, we're now calling this a medium risk. And so these sorts of analyses are the sorts of things that analytics give you and that are very hard to get in our CRM, in a single snapshot view. So what we might do now is tick the box over here to the left, but this box is our watch list. Right, so I'm Mike Rossi's manager, and I'm interested in this deal, and I want to now get an email automatically when something changes on that deal. And when we get a bit later in the presentation, we're going to look at how we can coach staff and mentor staff, and we're going to call out these sorts of deals by exception. So rather than looking through all of Mike's funnel, we want to look at the deals that might be at risk, ones by exception, ones that might be in trouble, or ones that may be not in trouble, but maybe we can bring them forward somehow. Okay, so where are we up to? So we've looked at comparing our outlook to the forecast. We've actually looked at isolating risks, so we've been through this section here. And so now what we want to do is, as you just mentioned, is look at managing by exception. So when we tick that box on the left-hand side, what that does is it puts it into our watch list. And that watch list, based on whatever schedule we decide, daily or weekly or whatever, will send me as a manager, or even the salesperson themselves, an email. And in that, you can monitor your key deals. So what we see here is examples of what we get. And if you're online, you can actually click through to the deals yourself. So this is just a handy little tool for us to keep an eye on things and maybe call out to our salespeople and help them manage those deals. Okay, so coaching and driving accountability. What we want to do now is start to put in front of ourselves deals and things that we might want to focus on so that we can identify successful behaviours as well as behaviours that could be improved. And I'm just going to swap to the application again. We'll just wait for it to load and refresh the data. And so what this screen's going to do, don't you love that? What this screen's going to do is it's going to let the team basically ask the what the question. So if I'm looking at an opportunity and I'm going through the pipeline, what I can do is I can add comments into this box and they can be sent to the account owner. Let me just try and refresh the screen. What it does is you can have a communication in your own time with the owner of that account, and you can start to build a history of it. So here we go. So this one here, James Dixon says to Mike, I'm looking at changing the pricing on this to move it back in the quarter. Do I have permission to requote? And so Mike will then respond, yes you do, no you don't. And so what we want to do is then go through these deals and look at what we can manage by exception. So with the ability to data mine and store your CRM data, your daily snapshots, and then provide a whole range of tools, and by the way, we've only looked at in this time a very small proportion of the different tabs and views and analyses that we're able to set up. But the idea is just to give you a taste of what is possible and some of the insights you may get. And if you'd like some more detail, certainly happy to take you through that one-on-one. But what we're trying to do here is improve the sales performance of our frontline sales teams. And so that's clearly, as we said earlier, increasing their win rate, giving them information themselves day to day that lets them understand where their particular deals are, what's changing, and are they at risk, are they stalled, what can I do? As a sales manager, we want to improve those odds on an accurate sales forecast to better than flipping a coin. At an executive level, we want to be able to lower our sales operations costs. We want to have transparency to what's driving our sales forecast, and we want to be able to create a leading indicator on performance. So with CRM, at the moment, we can see what's happening today. If we didn't have pipeline analytics, we could probably do some historical reporting. But what I want now, these days, is I want a leading indicator of where we are actually going to end up, and that's my forecast. And I want some quality and integrity into that leading indicator, and I want it to be better than a 50-50 coin flip. So, in a very small nutshell, that's the promise of what the Cloud9 analytics can deliver to you. It's quite an easy solution to get up and running. For those people already using LeadMaster and or Salesforce.com, the integrations are done. And as long as you are tracking opportunity information, which I assume you are, it's a matter of creating your models and getting that data into the data warehouse and starting to analyze that. And you should be seeing value to that analysis in your first 30 days. So what we'd like to do now is open it up to any questions, and we'll finish up in the next 5 or 10 minutes with Q&A. And whilst we're getting those questions together, if you have any other queries, you can contact us at cloud9@leadmaster.com.au. Our telephone number's there and our website's there. Okay, so let's see if we have any questions. All right, so if you'd like to ask a question, what you need to do is go to the question box in your webinar panel and pose a question there. And we've got one or two coming through. So at the moment, so one question is, and I think we just mentioned it a minute ago, is in terms of what CRM, essentially the question is what CRMs are compatible with Cloud9. So the CRMs that are currently integrated with Cloud9 are both Salesforce.com and also our own LeadMaster CRM. And so if you're operating on one of those platforms, the integration's already been done, and it's quite a straightforward process for getting your data out on an automatic basis and into the Cloud9 platform. Another question we've got is, how long does it take to get set up? The answer is probably 1 to 2 weeks we can get you set up. There's a bit of work to be done in identifying different calculations for what constitutes risk, what constitutes a stored deal, getting the field set up. But 1 to 2 weeks, and with some help from you, and we can have you up and running in Cloud9. And as a user or a manager, you can then be drilling into those graphs and starting to see some deeper analysis and analytics within your current pipeline. Okay, so last call for questions. Are there any more questions? Okay, all right, so we've been running about 35 minutes, so unless there are any more questions, what we'll do is wrap up the webinar now. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you found this webinar to be, okay, sorry, there is a new question. What is the cost? Excellent question. I was waiting for that, that question to come through. I don't want to sound like I'm dodging the question. The answer is it's a combination, and it's based upon how many CRM users you have, because that determines how much data we need to capture. But then it also depends on how many people actually want to be able to view the analysis and the tabs. And so sometimes people say, listen, I want all my salespeople to be able to have access to this. Some organizations say, you know what, I just want my managers to have access to this. And so depends on what you need. So a small business package with setup in the first year and 5 users, you're probably looking at an initial all-up year 1 investment of around $10,000. And thereafter, the running costs, depending on how many users you have, are less than that. So, in overall scheme of things over a year, it's not a huge cost compared to the analysis and the insight that you're getting with your current data. So I know that's not a very precise answer, but if you'd like us to get more precise, I think let's have a look at what your scenario and your situation, and we can come up with some numbers for you. The answer is, so the question is, there's no monthly cost. The answer is there is a monthly cost per user, but in the first year you've got a combination of monthly costs and also some setup fees. So what I'm saying is the total year one cost is about 10K, then the ongoing costs per annum are less than that, and that's split across the number of users you've got and a monthly fee per user. Okay, alrighty. Okay, so thanks for taking the time to join us today. If you'd like more information, please reach out and contact us. However, you can be pretty confident that we'll be reaching out and contacting you and to see whether or not we can help you with any more information. The answers to the questions will be distributed. If you'd like a copy of the slide set, just let us know. And also, we have been recording this webinar, and our marketing folk will be making this available on our blog and our website in due course. Okay, so I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for joining us today for the Cloud9 Pipeline Analytics demonstration with LeadMaster. We appreciate your time.